Hi, everyone. We have a great show today. We have the director, the producer, and part of the crew of a great and amazing short film called Estilo Americano. It is a little longer than usual because we talk a lot about the film, a lot about politics, because the film it's about family in today's election days. So people are divided and people are different. Let's put it that way. Please, if you have the chance, watch the short film right now before continuing into this. If it's not on the site, sorry. Hopefully, we'll be back soon, and at that time, I hope you see it and enjoy it. And please leave a message for these guys because it's a really, really good short film. Okay, here's the trailer.
Guys, this is ridiculous.
You're
out. This family's toxic. I'm out. Siéntate!
Shoot, let me go put some pants on. Hold on.
Okay.
To avoid.
Jeffrey, no. Ay, Dios mío, we're all traumatized about that right now.
That's why we call him. That's why we call him Commando.
No, le falta el
That's the way it is.
All right.
Okay, so here we are with the people, the crew, and the cast of Estilo Americano. It's a short film that we have on the website right now. At the moment, it's going to be there for a week. And so you really, really have to see it if you haven't seen it yet. I really, really strongly suggest you see it before it goes away for now because it's doing the festival route. It just finished one festival, right?
Yeah, Urban World and La Femme, two.
And well, like always, all festivals, you send it and you wait. So let me introduce everybody here. I have Miriam Kruishoop. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Wonderful.
Perfect. The director and writer, Helen Utrecht, the producer. I have Lidia Porto, one of the actresses, Antonio Jaramillo, Ruben Garfias, Meza, and Goya Robles. Sorry. I may say something in Spanish, some stuff in Spanish because it's impossible to avoid it. So,
Claro, es mejor que hablemos en español.
in Spanglish, it, like the way it is. So I want to start with the technical part of the short. I mean, the film is one location. And it's when you see a short film in one location, you think, okay, this is going to be just like a scene, right? But this is a film that you see, there's a beginning, middle, and there is a very strong ending that you were able to put everything together, one room, 20 minutes. How did you come up with this idea, Miriam? And at the same time, was the why a Latino story?
All right. Well, you know, I'm a filmmaker and a visual artist, and in my work, you know, for the past 2 decades, I give platforms for global voices around the world. I've done a Latino film in 2014, Green Card Warriors, and you know, I live in America and I respond to my surroundings, and I make art about that, so to speak. You know, when Trump came into power, and this is going to be a political little speech on my side, so apologies. But it was just unbelievable how he started picking on Latino demographic and ICE, border walls, you know, separating families at the border. And was just shocking. And I have a lot of Latino friends, and I was like, what's going on? You guys have to stand up against it, you know, rise up. Like, where's the Black Panthers and the Malcolm X's and whatnot? So that was really something that was so hurtful to see. And then, you know, you talk, and also, you know, lots of friends had like relatives that they would suddenly like not be getting on because it became very divided, because, you know, there's a lot of Latinos that are Trump supporters, you know, for whatever reason. And one of my really, really best friends, he is a Trump supporter, and sort of gradually our relationship started to evaporate because I'm on the other side. And that was really sad. So I was like, you know, I want to tell this story, get it out there and show that, you know, dividing people is not a good thing. But I also wanted to talk about the Latino identity, because, you know, when you're from Mexico, whether you're from Puerto Rico, that's a very different experience. Yet here by the government, you're addressed as one big demographic, you know. And I'm like, it's much more subtle, and everyone who's an immigrant, you know, and that's just generally speaking, experiences their nationality or their culture in their own way. So I wanted to create all these different voices that experience being Latino in their own unique way, because someone from an older generation or a newer generation, there's a big difference. And also represent these different voices that I found and opinions that I researched and that inspired me and that I took from. And I was like, okay, how can we do that? Let's do it with something very American, like a Thanksgiving. You know, how can we bring these people together, this family together, do something that's very American, right? Yet this is a Mexican-American family. And the other thing is I wanted to do, you know, Green Card Warriors is about an undocumented family where the eldest son is being recruited by the US Army. And now I wanted to do something about a middle-class Mexican-American family, because they're educated, they're a huge contribution culturally and economically. And it's something that you don't see represented in arts and entertainment. So that was another big, you know, thing for me. So.
And having, I mean, when you see a dinner like this, a scene like this, for me, it's, as a Latino, this is dinner, right? I mean, it's a normal thing. It's a normal, I mean, the problem we have right now is that we're all separated by miles and miles. At least my family, it's all over the US and even in the other side of the world right now. But growing up, this was normal. And but my experience growing up in these kind of settings, in these kind of dinners, was never division. And now you see it everywhere. I mean, you see it all the time, every time you get together with friends. And I don't know anybody, if anyone here can say if they're having the same experience or not. I mean, I know I'm having it. Anybody else?
Well, it's kind of sad. Like you mentioned, Miriam said she's having a separation with friends. That tends to happen, and for inexplicable reasons. And it's hurtful. It's painful to see what you thought was a steady relationship dissipate, because now we're forced to draw lines on our political affiliations. And whenever that happens, you know that the system is the winner, because their job is to divide and conquer. Their job is not to unify. And that's an unfortunate byproduct of political thinking, where we use that as a rationale to consider that that is our reality. And our reality is much more complex than that.
Yeah.
Well, I would also add to that. So like, I know in my family, I have a couple of Trump supporters, and the conversations get pretty intense, and we actually don't have to wait to the dinner table for something, for like a blowout or something to happen. And it's complicated because, you know, the same people, you know, like I have an uncle, he's racist, he's straight up racist. I tell him right to his face, like he'll say some crazy stuff. But like, he's also the dude that, you know, I grew up with a lot of trauma and stuff in my childhood, and he was one of the few people who was kind to me and made sure that I was taken care of. So it's a very conflicting thing, very conflicting dynamics. It's like some of the same people who've loved me with unconditional love, and yet they support this man who stands for everything that I viscerally go against. And so it's a very, I know some people are like, well, you got to distance yourself, you got to cut them off, but I find it to be a very complicated matter, which is why I feel like the movie, the film that we got to participate in was dynamic in that way, because everybody, like, you saw the tension between everyone had all these different views, and yet, there was a heartbeat that everyone connected to, which is the family element, which is why it's so, for me anyway, easy to connect to the circumstances.
For me personally, I think the situation politically has gotten so bad that it's no longer about political lines. I don't care what party you are, Republican, Democrat, I don't care. It's more about equality, inclusion, decency, respect, fairness for others. If anyone I know, whether it's a family member or a friend, looks at this man and says, this is the guy, meaning Trump, this is my guy, I have to question your character. I have to question my relationship with you. And it's gotten so bad that honestly, I don't have the time to debate it anymore. If truly you look at that man and you say, that's my leader and everything he does, I agree with, I have to walk away, because I don't see the need of me having a relationship with you anymore if we don't have a common ground in basic principles. I mean, it's just people that claim to be so religious. The basic principles of the Bible is to heal the sick, to feed the poor, to love thy neighbor. It's like, what are you talking about? It's gotten really, I don't know, polluted. It's ridiculous. I don't care about party lines anymore. Republican, liberal, Democrat, I don't care. I don't even know what I am myself. But just inclusion, decency, respect for one another, and fairness, if we don't have that, we're doomed.
Well, let me get away from the politics a little bit, because it's gonna come up a lot, because the theme, and we are 2 weeks away from one of the most difficult elections in history, in at least our history. So back to the short film directly. How big was, this is for Ellen and for Miriam, how big was the budget for this film?
Well, what was the budget, or what did we spend? That was more of a really good difference. The budget was about half of what I spent and what we spent in the end, but it was nearly $65,000, I think. Yeah, so it was a big, for a short film, it was definitely the most expensive short film that we made. And yeah, it was for 3 days, and it was a lot of, obviously it had a lot of equipment, a lot of people that needed to be kept, and a small space, but it was, and we did a lot in post, etc. So, it was overall a fairly costly short film, but I think that you can show, it does sort of show, if you ask me. It looks like it was well spent, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And so you shot everything in 3 days?
Yes, it was a 3-day shoot. Actually, there were a lot of scenes that we kill, or, you have to kill your darlings at some point in time. So the film was quite a bit longer initially, and it was meant to be probably about 35 minutes initially, but I think me and Miriam decided at some point in time that also for purposes of being online and for us to be able to distribute it more online, not just for festival purposes, that it would serve it much better if it was shorter. And so we actually condense the whole film down to to the one location, where it did actually have scenes in other parts of the house, but in the end we didn't use those. So we did need this 3 days initially, but
so we're going to see a director's cut in the future? No.
well, I actually much prefer this one. So in my opinion, and I think Miriam, you probably agree, right, on that?
I totally agree. I think the other scenes are really nice. They were greatly performed, but you know, when you go to what the messaging and what the core of the story is, and the punch to the gut, so to speak, without giving away the ending, you know, you got to stay lean and mean. And you know, every film, we all have been making films for a long time, everyone involved, this is how it happens. And Ellen was right, and she was great to bring that up. And you're like, you know, that's a gorgeous scene, but really we don't need it, you know. And it was 30 minutes, and so we cut out something substantial, but we're very happy with the result.
Yeah, I mean, it's 22 minutes and you don't feel it. I mean, it doesn't feel like a 22-minute film. It's shorter. I mean, you feel it short. I mean, the story just brings you in and you're part of the dinner table. I mean, that a part of the conversation.
Yeah. I think that's also obviously the performances and that suck you into the story. But I also feel that you know, credit to the DP and Miriam for bringing that table and the whole ensemble together, because it doesn't, it's not a static or boring camera work. You know, there was quite a lot of, and the guys actually had to do this so many times. So it was pretty intense shooting this from so many different camera angles, you know. So it was a long 3 days, especially to be so emotional as well. You did an amazing job, everyone.
So how many cameras you used? Just one?
2.
2 cameras. Okay. Ari, big cameras or?
Yeah.
Sony Venice.
No, Sony Venice. Sorry,
Sony's.
Yeah, we were able to borrow those and had some really beautiful lenses, etc. So yeah.
And what about the decision of doing it black and white?
Well, for me, when I came up with the framework for the story, I was like, you know, it's really important that, you know, you're documenting something that's very timely, but you're also making a piece of art, right? So you want it to be timeless. And I felt like if you do it color, I wanted to elevate it, you know, and really give it a unique cinematic look. And so I was kind of set on black and white, and, you know, working with Dave, Frederick, the cinematographer, and the great colorist, Bo. And we came with a unique look because it's black and white, but it's got a little sepia, and it's a little different from a black and white. And we shot it widescreen, you know, to give it that real cinematic feeling. So you have 8 people. So to have everyone in the shot, you know, when you're not shooting anamorphic or widescreen, you know, your frame is narrower. And here, it's not so much, it's about what's being said, but the reactions are as important. So to creating that depth of field and picking up all the other reactions from the characters and feel their presence in the frame, I think, you know, that was a creative decision that we all made, but I feel it really worked to our benefit. And again, like what Ellen said, the actors to do this over and over again. You have 8 people that are equally important, and they have to bring, like I said, not just memorizing their dialogue, but giving a performance in their reaction. All of them were absolutely amazing and keep bringing it till the very last moment. And it's to them and the team that put it together, you know. So and Ellen leading this in such a strong way, and at the same time giving me so much creative freedom and getting that trust. That's amazing.
I felt like the philosophical part is like, okay, black and white, this is how we are today. It's either black or white. I mean, it's so devices right now. There's nothing in the middle, right?
That's right.
Very little.
And so I have one of the questions I have when I saw the film was directly to Jess. Because it's, I mean, you have one of the most difficult performance. And well, this is for you, for Jess and for Miriam. It's like you have to probably go against what you believe in a very strong way. And Miriam, you have to make her go that way, to take her character. as far as possible without being too much. I mean, because points are valid, and you want to make it, okay, I hate her. No, you don't want to do that. You want to make her in the same level as the rest, but opposite, right? So Jess, how did you get there? Or Miriam, how did you make her go that way?
Well, for me,
yeah.
for me personally, I mean, this is such a difficult election that we're in right now currently, but aside from that, my position on how I feel about Trump and how he treats my culture and minorities overall, I've never been a Trump supporter, so this role attracted me a lot because it's so opposite of me, and I like playing roles that are completely opposite because I feel like it challenges you more as an actor to dive into that certain part of you that you have to not be judgmental of your character. You know, you can't judge this person. You have to look at this person and put, you know, their shoes on and walk in their life and understand why they might feel what they feel. And the more, and this might sound, I don't know, funny, but the more I put her shoes on, the more I was able to have empathy for her, the more I was able to understand her position and to understand that her points are somewhat valid, how she feels. And the more I was able to do that, I was able to dive into her without pushing, if you will, you know, and just being like nonchalant and throwing it away. Like, this is just how she feels. Almost as if I was defending, you know, Barack Obama, or if I was on the opposite side, like how Antonio's role was, or Zuleika's role was. If I was on that position, I would just so effortlessly defend that part. And that's what I had to do to, you know, I did a lot of research on my end as far as using parts of my life where I had a friend who was Latina, an immigrant, you know, her parents were immigrants, and she was a Trump supporter. So I had to use a lot of that to understand her, you know, and to understand her points. So that's where I did. And then of course Miriam would pull me to the side sometimes and say, hey, you know, she'd give me some notes on certain scenes that maybe I was extremely tired that week. I was working doubles. I was a zombie on set. And so every now and then Miriam would have to pull me to the side and give me a few notes, which definitely helped me. So.
Well, I think Jess also, when we worked together on the character, it was like, you don't want it to be one-dimensional. You don't want to have someone at the table that you completely dislike, right? Yeah. We're all human beings, and I think that's the message of the film as well. Even though you're divided, there is something redeeming about everyone. And the scene that we actually cut out, but I do want to mention it, is a scene between Bianca and Danny, where Danny asks her for money. And we see there's a pattern that, you know, she is very helpful and instrumental in supporting her family. You know, she is the one that makes the most money, and she definitely does that. So Jess and I were finding the right balance where me politically, like, I could put the most in Miguel's character because I feel like that's me. But then also have, like, you know, she has to be empathetic and human to a certain extent. And obviously at the end, you know, which we're not going to reveal or give away. But, you know, so there was like keep the human size. But it's like religious people, you know, she just believes that. And she won't inch. And I said to Jess, I said, this is the most showy role in a certain way because it's the most controversial. And Jess killed it. Like, she just delivered every single day. She came on set and just delivered with the same energy, didn't miss a beat. And, you know, we tweak, we push and pull, but I think she's brilliant in it.
I mean, the entire cast, I think, is brilliant. I mean, you really feel a family connection. I mean, there are differences, but you still feel that the parent figure, the mother figure, and the brothers and sisters all together. I mean, for Lidia and Ruben, I mean, you are the heads of the family, and you can feel them. You can feel that they are there and they represent the head of the Latin family. When to stop it, when to continue, when to step back a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Ruben, about the keeping that family together, Ruben and Lidia?
Lidia, you want to go first?
This mother is not as vocal as I tend to be, but I did a lot of research in terms of her decision to become a Jehovah's Witness and to find some peace in religion. I feel like she just feels like her family is being torn apart. And these are her children. These are people that, I mean, I am a mother. And so when I looked around that table to imagine that each and every one of these adults was my child, I raised them, I invested in them, that Ruben's character and mine were linked at the hip, everything that we've been through. And to see it coming apart at the seams, I just feel a sense of helplessness that I think religion gives me hope or some type of faith that maybe I can pray my way through it. And I think there are people in our culture, at least in my family, it tends to be a very religious family. And there's a lot of like, oh, let's just pray, let's just pray. So I could definitely relate to that and to everything that she was holding within. The moment when my husband stands and starts taking the decision to reveal this secret that we've kept together for so long is so emotional. And I want to give it to you to talk about what it was like to give that performance, because my performance was basically just looking at you and reacting to what you were saying, and it was amazing.
Without revealing anything, please.
Yep.
Without revealing, that's true. Which wasn't that big of a deal. No.
It's a very sacred relationship, husband and wife, and to have your children grown up and to hear them confront each other because now they have different viewpoints, different ideas. It can be very enlightening and it can be very disheartening. And once it got to the point where the disrespect reached a certain level, then the father has to stand up and not raise his voice so much as to raise the idea that we are family. And that has to be able to overcome any differences of political opinion, any financial discrepancies, any differences that you have. Once you're family, that's your safe harbor. And once you feel that harbor become destructive, then the love between mother and father has to rise up and remind them, not scold them, but remind them, this is family and this is sacred territory. And yet bring your differences, but bring them with intelligence and bring them with respect and bring them with decency. Some of the things that Antonio alluded to at the very beginning of this conversation. Once we depart from that, then no matter how strong your family is, once that starts to break down, forget the political process, man. I mean, everything begins and ends with remembering who we are, not forgetting where we come from. Now, sometimes we have to disappear in order to assimilate. And what happens is you have to change who you are, how you think, certain things about your goings in and out alter. But who you are inside, that doesn't change. Who you love inside, that doesn't change. How you love, how you express that universal theme of family, community. Because what you start here is what goes out there. And that's why this short little film is beautiful, because isn't that what art is about? It's fiction revealing truth, whereas politics, it's fiction used to conceal lies.
That's
See?
nicely said.
And so that's and so to be able to get that in 20 minutes with 8 people, 8 different artistic temperaments sitting at a table. You see how it starts at the very beginning, and when you see that very last shot, that tells you almost everything you need to know about this family,
Yeah.
and hopefully, as metaphorically speaking, as our larger family.
Yeah, well said.
Ruben, can I say something? I want to say we all spend a lot of like making something that comes out, you know, well, takes a lot of time and a lot of work. And we did a lot of rehearsals. We all spent a lot of time together. The fact that this family looks and feels like a family is because we spend a lot of time together, right? As a group, and then individually, I would work with you guys, or in smaller groups. You know, I worked one-on-one with Ruben for the ending scene, and you know, so it's not like this happened. Yeah, it happened because we're working with equally great actors that bring the same quality and talent and devotion to the project, but it's a lot of hard work to get to a result like this, where you look at the family and you're like, okay, I believe these guys are related, right? And you guys put that in there. You gave me the time in order to make that happen. So I'm very grateful for that.
Well, I think the key word is, and you guys said it before, it was a very welcoming, collaborative effort. Nobody was there to mess around. We knew that we were working under very constrict time frame, and all we try to do is try to make everyone look better. So if I can bring the love that I have for my wife, it can only happen if I look into her eyes. It can only happen if I look at my children with that love and respect, and sometimes a little frustration, right? But everybody brought their A game to 3 days, and I can only thank everyone, because nobody was there to mess around. No egos, no insecurities. Not all it was is we have a job.
I had my ego on I had my ego, but I left it in the car. but I brought it. I brought it with me.
Driver's seat.
It's always with me, but I left it in the car outside.
My ego was asleep.
And I would take breaks and go outside and talk to my ego and say, "Listen, take it easy, just relax."
And your ego was like, "Why
come in
can't I?"
here.
I think I could help you.
Small.
I think I could help you. Your ego would say.
I'm talking about the ego between action and cut.
My ego's in the room right now, sleeping. You know, if I can add something to that, the dynamics of the family within this film are terrific, because it was the blueprint of the film was well written. The idea that Ellen and Miriam had for this project, it was put together well. The backstories were amazing. When she sent me the script and I read it, the backstories were there, even though we didn't have time to tell them, we didn't have time to show them. The backstories, the character descriptions were there, and it cemented the family dynamic, because we knew who each one of us was and what we did and where we were socially, or how much education we had, or it was well written. And when something is well written, it's a lot easier as an artist to take the leap forward. When it's got a bunch of holes, then you got to spend time filling the holes. So it's not as good, but it was well written. Miriam and Ellen put something together that was pretty cool and engaging, and also it challenges us the way we think politically. And another thing I like to add is women in charge, working with women in charge. That has to happen more often. More often, seriously. A woman producer and a woman director writer, it's a different environment. It's more collaborative. You know, Ruben just said something about egos. There's not much of that, really. Women and egos, not so much. They're more open. Their heart is more open for discussions. Men and their egos, my God, they're so set in their ways. You can't even say anything because they'll take it personal, like you're attacking them.
Can we record that?
It's recorded.
This is being recorded, Jen.
Wait.
We have evidence.
No, you can't put this online. You can't put this online. No.
I need a
No,
It's already
seriously.
done.
No, seriously, men have such egos. You know, when you, all of us have worked in many different areas. When I have worked with men, my God, it's like they're so close to any other idea, any other perspective. You're like, really? That's it? That you already made up your mind? You got it? You know, it's ridiculous. But women, their heart's more open. That's why this story being told by women is probably easier to digest. Because if it was told by a man, it would lean one way or the other. It would lean more towards Miguel or more towards Bianca, but it doesn't. It stays in the middle, and it's for you as the audience member to decide. And that's because of the women in charge. So let's put more women in charge.
Please, please, can we? Thank you.
So
Hey,
I have
Goya, Goya's very quiet.
Yeah.
Antonio. Try dating the man,
Goya.
Antonio, okay? Goya's on mute.
Goya.
But living with them is different. We'll work with women.
Oh, so
marrying
we can be in
women
charge.
and living with women, that's a different story.
So we can be in
Sorry, I
charge.
can't hear anything.
And I think also
So-
the fact that, you know, even if we would take it back to politics slightly again, I think that's another very good reason why to choose the other way, right? Because we have a very strong female lead that potentially could also work with us sooner than we think. Because so I agree. I would love to see more women in charge, not just in the film industry, but actually politically and in our in the world, especially if you see the amount of countries that are that have done very well during the pandemic. They're mainly they've mainly been governed by women, and so I think we should have a bit more of a chance in that respect now. So that's another reason why I think it's really important to vote.
Yeah. So I have Joyce saying, asking if Joyce Mary Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, she's part of our team.
Yeah, she's asking if anybody has shown the film to other minorities, and if what was their reaction.
Meaning not Latinos? Like,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I mean, I posted it, but I don't.
Yeah, I
haven't gotten.
I have.
I haven't gotten any reactions yet.
I've been doing a lot of interviews this week, and you know, with press from all colors and everything, and I'm happy to share that the feedback was great. And I think what is happening in this country right now, that we have a Latino film with a Latino family, but it's, you know, as Ellen said in the press release, it's every table USA right now, you know. Yeah. So a lot of people can identify with this, and that's regardless of your you know, your color and your background and your social status. So that's a good question, Joyce. Joyce was one of our executive producers. She's been very supportive. We love her, and great that she's on.
Hi, Joyce.
So she said because she definitely relate to the ending that makes her very emotional. So I mean, I'm imagining that most of you share it. I mean, at least the cast, most of you share it with your family and friends, and it's still into the Latin community, right? Because I mean, we are mostly involved with more Latin people than others sometimes. Have you had anybody like a U.S. It's hard to define it, I think. A non-minority person have seen it. Have they making a comment on the film? Have you heard anybody that says, I agree, I don't disagree, or this is shocking or not?
I have a friend, Sue Hibbets, who is not Latina, and she was very moved by the film and also shared it. Having it on your platform has been wonderful because, at least for this week, people have been able to come and see it. She lives in North Carolina, in Asheville. And as I've traveled around the United States, I have found that most southern states have like at least an area where people are not as conservative. So these conversations happen in Caucasian families as well as Latino families and maybe even African American families. There are still people in the African American community who think that Trump is a better choice, and so these conversations happen. But she's coming from that point of view of maybe a pretty kind of a conservative family. She's not really having that much of a great time communicating with them, and felt reflected in this film.
Goya, you're
Yeah.
very quiet.
Yeah, I've definitely had a few people respond that weren't, don't necessarily come from Spanish speaking, backgrounds or families. And it all touches the nerve. I think there's something about the dynamic right now that I think so many families are dealing with this issue on some level, like so many families, and it's coming at a time right now where even like what we call Latino is, or whatever that identity is, like we're still trying to find our own identity in the midst of all of this. You know what I mean? Like if we really break it down, like what is Latino? Like it comes from the word Latinum, which is like it was off the coast of Rome before Alexander the Great's conquest, and the people there were called the Latins. Yeah. So how the hell are we incorporating something that has nothing to do with us? Yeah. You know what I mean? Straight up, right? But we take on that term. Same thing with the term Hispanic. Like that's refers to
Hispanic.
Yeah, it's actually from the between the Portuguese and the Spain, what is known as Iberia. Yeah. Right. And the people who spoke Castellano, you know what I mean? And I don't speak that shit. But the bigger point is like there's so many. So we're still dealing with, what do we call ourselves? What are we? There was an amalgamation of so many different histories and cultures, and so not only are we dealing with our own identity complex, but now we got to deal with the fact that, like, we got this phenomenon that we call Trump, and like, so I think that particular struggle that's native to us, it's translated. Like when I show the film, like people are also dealing with that. People who identify as Black, or like, or what is American descendants of slaves. That's a whole nother conversation where the Black community is dealing with as well, and which is where Trump is also involved in that as well, how people define themselves with that. So I think there's something about this film is so human about the struggles in reference to that translates beyond what we refer to as Latino,
So Miriam and Helen, do you think this film, I mean, you're the only two in this group that is not Latin, that are not Latins or Hispanic or whatever.
What?
You're the only two.
They're not Latin.
No, but I was raised in Portugal.
Wait. They told me that we're Mexican. Mexican? What the? Okay, I've been lied to.
Yeah. Now, maybe you should just leave now then, Antonio. Back to the ego.
Get your ego.
Back to my ego. Back in the room with my ego.
Yeah.
But do you think this film could have worked in a different culture? I mean, have you experienced something similar being from a different country and not being
sure.
Latin?
I absolutely. First of all, I'm not from more South American, or what you call Latin American, but I was actually raised in Portugal, so for me still the Latin language is very familiar. I was raised there. My parents still live there. I personally haven't do not have this division within my family. We're very lucky in the Netherlands, or lucky we have less of this division, I feel, but it's still very, very much there. If you look across the pond, for example, to Britain, which I have a lot of English friends, and I worked a lot with the Brits, and so only 3 years ago they voted and did the whole Brexit thing, which was very, very, very similar. I mean, people, friends that totally ripped apart. And I've had it here in America with friends that I knew from the Netherlands and that had moved here, and that had definitely, I could feel or smell a little bit of a Trumpness in there quite quickly, and just unbelievable. I wasn't, we broke ties, So yeah, I think it's this happens in everybody's culture. A lot of people are divided by politics here in America, for sure. It's not just the Latino community at all, but worldwide it's a problem, right? There's always been left and right, and personally, I thought, Antonio, how you put it to this in the beginning was very, very right. It's more about morals. It's more about how kind can you be to your people, and who cares about whether you're left or right, or it doesn't even seem to be about that in this particular election. It's got nothing to do with what you actually stand for, what you want to have. It's more like a big, campaign showing for well, at this point, for Trump, I feel, and anybody opposite him has to, help or manage to try and keep up by bashing. But I think it's this film is not just for the Latino community. Well, it doesn't speak only for the Latino community, I think.
I think it speaks to any culture that puts family first. And there are a lot of cultures that are like that. Family is very important to a lot of different cultures. So I think any culture that can relate to that part of it will be able to relate to the entire story, because this can happen to any family. Any culture that places family above all, where family is, and I know that has a lot with I want to say Filipino families. They're very big on their culture. They're very big on family. Koreans, Asians, they're very big on their family too. So any culture that places family first can ultimately relate to the story, because anytime you're dealing with politics, it can do this to any family. It can do this to your friends. It does this to it tears people apart, like what we've discussed in a few of the, Goya mentioned something, Antonio mentioned something, Miriam mentioned something. I've been through something when politics really do divide. They don't unify. And so I think anybody that deals with that can relate to the story.
No, and what's really, people say like, oh, you're not Latino. How can you tell this story? And I'm like, I've done another Latino film, which was Embraced, which was great. But then also, they actually thought I was Mexican, so I was brought onto a show on Univision thinking that I was Spanish. And then they had to take me off again, because after 2 sentences, I'm a disaster, right? But I think, this is a human story, right? This is a human condition story. So, and what I do in my work, I gravitate towards certain cultures or whatever. Maybe I'm just open. I don't know. I've lived in America for a long time. I've friends from every culture, every background. I'm mixed myself. Ellen is actually also mixed. So, you just do something where your heart goes, and it's universal. You know what I mean? I picked up on something that I thought was very important at the time. I picked up on something in 2014 that I felt was very important at the time. And then last year I did a whole show, a narrative about a Gen Z Black girl growing up under Trump and being Black, what that meant before the Black Lives Matter movement became, such a necessity. So, you just follow your heart. And I think we all own every narrative, because we're talking about people, we're talking about families, we're talking about the human condition.
And I also think, just to piggyback on what you said, what you have in this family is a metaphor, basically, for every family. So I'm sure if you show this to families from whatever culture, they're going to relate to the Jess character, to Antonio's character, to Goya's character, to everybody's. We're always going to have someone similar to that in our family, right? My mom's like that. My dad's like that. So this is about the universal family, and we're just using the Latino experience as the delivery system to hopefully share our experience and let you know that we're not different from you. We have we're exactly the same. We share the same biases, and we have people in our family who know so much, and none of it is true, and that gets exposed here. And at the end of the day, when you have these secrets that tend to polarize a family, well, now you know what your family is really up against when the secret is revealed. And what happens? Do you come apart as you were just a little while ago? Or do you discover, wait a second, that secret shouldn't have been enough to separate us? Quite the contrary. Now we understand the sacrifice, the love, the things that we didn't have an understanding of before. So now to have it sit with us and realize, oh my goodness, we should be more grateful rather than divided. We should be more humbled rather than angered. And that's what I think every family can understand. And what I love about the editing here is the beautiful, subtle lines that were revealed, not spoken, but shown. The caress, the looks, the understanding, the coming together. Even though there was a lot said verbally, there was so much more said emotionally, psychologically, culturally. And it's funny how we're sitting at this table where everybody's eating, and the diet wasn't so much about the food. It was about the ideas being shared and how that brought the spice to the whole conversation. And I think anybody who has a table with families, be it here, be it in whatever country you choose, it's a universal thing. And we're just the delivery system. And we're saying, you see, we get it. If the families are united, maybe we can heal whatever ills politics is trying to incur. Because remember, politics isn't about solving problems. It's about creating problems. It's not about bringing people together. Politics has no morals. Politics is power, right? Well, family can be more powerful than politics. And I think that's the final thought about what we're trying to do. Yeah, there's power, there's money, there's prestige, there's packaging, but there's content. And what's inside us? Character. Character is more important than the superficiality and the distractions of the day.
I mean, at the end of the film, and I'm not going to reveal anything, but you're standing, and there's a moment when you're saying two words and you pause in between them. That moment, Ruben, I mean, that shot is just, I think it's so great. I love that shot. And you're like, okay, this is it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the photography, it's great in the entire film. And of course, the editing is amazing because the pauses are there for a reason. The editing, everything is so well done.
Well, brother, it's interesting you should say that because there's a saying in Spanish, al buen entendedor, pocas palabras. Right? So that's the father acknowledging, I know you're intelligent. I don't have to say any more, do I?
Exactly.
See? To he who so I say one word, you understand two.
Yeah. So let's end with a positive thing. Okay. Try. What was the fun, if there was any moment that it was really, really fun doing this project? Can you tell a story of a fun moment doing the project?
Can I acknowledge a few people? Do you mind? Because I
Yes.
want to acknowledge Todd Sandler, the editor that Ellen brought on. I mean, he's brilliant, super collaborative. That was just like a walk in the park working with him. And that is thanks to Dave Frederick, who shot and got all the coverage that we needed, which was very much planned out. But, you know, that really worked. So I want to give a shout out to that team, to Enrique, to Brené, to Bas, to Todd, to Orly, the production designer, to our audio peeps. I mean, really, they did such an amazing job. Another thing that I want to say, we had to do the entire post-production during COVID. Mm. And that is extremely challenging because we're not used to finish a film and not seeing and hearing the same thing. You're used to sit in the same room. So that was difficult, you know, and people are not aware of how that works, but you're not looking at the same monitor. So how do you know what I see is the same as what Ellen sees or what the colorist sees or Dave sees? So, you know, that was, you know, sound mix, audio, getting the music done. But again, credit to the team and the leadership of Ellen. We got it done, and we got it done in a really great way. So for me, filmmaking is the most fun thing. It's constantly solving problems, being very flexible, innovative, staying creative. But it was amazing from beginning to end.
That's a producer job. Solve everything.
Well, I really enjoyed, and I know that no Lidia, no Goya were there, but I actually very much enjoyed our screening, our first screening, which we did, and it was so nice. We had to wait for such a long time to see each other again, and we weren't really able, you know, we didn't know whether we were even going to, so we decided to just do it only for the cast and crews, even separated, and trying to get everybody in the, you know, in the far away from one another outside and watch it on an outside screen, and to actually see other people's or the cast's reactions. That was one of my favorite parts. I just, that's what you know, what you do it for, really. And unfortunately, we haven't had that much chance to obviously see people's reactions when you're watching it, which you normally do. And so that for me was the best part of the project.
What was your reaction watching the film? To the actors, what was his reaction watching it the first time that day?
If I can add to what the fun part is, for me, the fun part is connecting with these human beings, including yourself, who was interviewing us today, because I didn't know any of them prior to this film, and because of this film, now we're connected at the hip, and you know, so just connecting to other human beings, that's one of the most beautiful parts of our jobs as actors. We do these jobs and we meet so many people, and some people stay with you and they enrich your life, and it makes your life better. You know, we're all navigating this world, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but getting to meet new people, it's awesome. You see, there's lovely smiles. It's really cool. And to be able to use yourself, your humanity, to express an idea on film, it's a luxury. So that was the fun part of it for me. Aside from the subject matter, whatever, the internal part as a human being is connecting with other human beings, which is what art is trying to do. That's it. I'm gonna go back to my email.
I'll echo that.
Antonio, you don't know me? You don't know me?
Huh?
You didn't know me?
No. I mean, I
now, Jess.
No. I knew her. What I'm saying, I got to know more people and better, you know. But I did know Jess and Ruben. We worked together before. He was my son in a movie, I think, or I was his son.
Okay.
No, we were twins. We were twins in this movie. I don't know. So no, I worked with some of them before. So I do, and Dave Frederick, the cinematographer, I work with him on Mayans MC. So what I'm saying is, I get to work with people I've worked with before again, and then meet new people. Meet new people that I
see. His ego's not with him. You see, this is
why he's struggling.
Has to do struggling now. Now that this is the time we.
This whole movie was shot on my birthday weekend, so it's like the best birthday present I've ever gotten in my life. And but I agree with Antonio that when I saw the list of actors, the idea that I was going to be working with an all Latino cast, and I've worked with Goya before and I knew Dave, but the intensity of what we were undertaking to spend that much time together, it was wonderful. I mean, all of those faces are recorded indelibly in my brain, and I love seeing everybody, and so many different expressions of who we can be, so many different matices. But it was my birthday weekend, so my most fun was the big chocolate cake that they gave me, and feeling like the whole weekend was about my birthday. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. I'll never forget it.
All the family together.
For me personally, I met Antonio like years ago, and I always said to him, we're going to work on something together. I literally put that in the universe. And then this project came, and I was like, we're working together. So that was really enjoyable. And then, of course, off camera, my little naps every now and then. That was really fun because I was working doubles, so I had like zero sleep. But Goya would be there and Zuleika would be there, and I would just pass out. So, it was fun. Off camera, we had a lot of fun, you know, and then we just would have to snap right back into our characters when we were filming. But I agree with Antonio, and of course, Lidia, just working with an all Latino cast and then having women that are in charge. That for me, it was great because, you know, it's great, like you said, having a woman's perspective, a woman's point of view, and having the ego that's left in the car. That's also great, you know. So for me, that experience overall, I mean, the cast, the ensemble is so great. Everyone is so talented, and just having all of us come together and bringing everything that we each have and creating, it was so fun for me personally.
Miriam?
I want to please give Goya and Ruben an opportunity. I think I've spoken enough, but I love everyone. And to have this cast of such talented and devoted people, you know, and I feel we have created friendships for life.
Go ahead. Ruben, go ahead.
Yeah, I love the idea of the chance that we got to love each other artistically and lift each other creatively. You know, in such a short amount of time, to be able to gel these many different temperaments and trying to find what wasn't just on the surface of the script, but what was so much deeper. And to do that in 3 days with such a limited amount of time, that's a Herculean task. And the fact that we were able to do it respectfully, lovingly, creatively, artistically, collaboratively, with so many people involved is a testament to everybody's willingness to take a story, honor it, make it dangerous and entertaining enough so that you watch it, and loving enough so that it stays with you and maybe allows you to ask a few questions of yourself and what you can bring to the table.
Very well said, mijo.
And happy birthday.
Let me see. I'm going to try.
I want to hear from Goya.
Yeah, go ahead, Goya.
Mm-hmm. I always, my thing is like the very first meeting, you know, what is that like? And I pay attention to that, you know, like the very first interactions. You know, when I first met Lidia, was on set for a show that we were on, and she was playing my aunt. And so like as soon as I saw her, the very first thing I told her was like, "Hola, tia," right? And it became, and she immediately responded without even thinking about it. And so we spent the whole 3 seasons having, from the first interaction, this sense of family. So much so that, you know, the show is over and I still, you know, I'm like, "Hey, Thea," I call her up, like, "What are you doing today? Can we meet for dinner?" So I guess I bring that up because like when you know, when I met Miriam, when I met Jess, when I met the whole fam, Ruben reminds me of like my uncle who I mean, he passed away a few years ago, but like he just had energy, and I'm just paying attention to those dynamics. I'm like, okay, I can do this because I actually feel like I'm home. So that's gonna work, you know. And then on set, you know, we got to behind the scenes. I think that the majority of the time I was hung out with Jess when she wasn't sleeping, and and you know, it's like like our banter was, you know, just reminded me of like, yeah, you know, so, you know, you got a little bit of street in you. You like a little bit of, you know, I felt like like a sister, you know, for real, that I could just go back and
A
forth
little
with.
bit.
Un cantito
A lot
nomás,
of
un
street.
cantito.
Un
A lot of
poquitito.
street.
Un poquitito.
The whole
Un
neighborhood is
cantito.
a street.
Yeah.
so, so, you know, it's the things like that that just you know, I wasn't in my head, you know. I wasn't. It was nice. It was nice to work in that atmosphere. So, yeah.
Okay, I have Teddy's video. I'm gonna try to
Great.
play it. I don't know if it's gonna work. So let me try this really quick. Okay, here it is.
3, action. Hey, my name is Jay Teddy Garces. I play Leon in Estilo Americano, and I am terribly sorry I couldn't be there with you guys today. I just want to say thank you to Los Cortos and Espada PR for putting this together. I also wanted to say thank you to Miriam and Ellen for trusting me in this movie. And, you know, very seldomly do you get a chance to work on a film that kind of parallels everything that's happening in real life in real time. And it's a great snapshot of our current situation. As an actor, I didn't have to stretch much. That's why it was truly special to me. You know, the one message I do have is get out and vote. Get out and vote like your life depends on it, because it just might. Thank you for hearing me.
Teddy has been part of this project from day one, and he has been just amazing, just standing right next to me and supporting. And obviously his character, you know, the Puerto Rican, you know, perspective, the Afro-Latino perspective is really important. It doesn't get enough attention, I think. And he's a G, and we love him. And he's great in the film.
And also let's thank Lombardo.
Oh my God,
who couldn't be here because of family matters, and
Yes.
not a nice one. But we very much miss him, and was a huge part of this film as well.
Such a talent, this man. Like Lombardo, honestly, he's just a one-take guy. He just strolls on with this smile on his face, and he boom, and he just does it. And he brings tremendous energy to a set. And it was great that he was at our screening, Ellen, outdoors. We fucking love him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everybody.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me share
you.
your film on in Los Cortos.
Oh,
Which is
thank
a
you. Having
you,
us.
thank you,
pleasure.
Yaniv, and thank you, Los Cortos,
thank you.
and thank you, Jasmine, Espada PR, for putting us together with Los Cortos, and you, Yaniv. It's a real honor, man, and you're a gem. It's just beautiful. Thank you.
Now you have to send me the other short film, which I haven't seen, so I'll wait for that.
The deleted scenes.
And the what's the name? The military one. The Green Card Warriors.
Yes,
Send it
that's
have
a
to see
long trip. That's a feature, not a short.
Oh, okay,
Mm.
that's fine. I
Okay,
can watch.
bye. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
guys.
Gracias.
Bye, everybody.
Gracias.
Good to see
Bye.
you.
Adios, familia.
Bye.
Thank you for being with us today. Hopefully you enjoyed this interview. I know it was long, but we just couldn't stop talking, which is great sometimes. So again, hopefully you can find the short film on the website and watch it and tell us what do you think. We're gonna keep the page of the director and producer on the website. There's gonna be a link right here to see to see their bios, and we're gonna put some links, all the social media from her and from some of the talents. So if you want to send a message, please do. Thank you, and see you around. Bye.